Okay. Very good evening, my dear friends. So, welcome, my dear, all the aspirants of CPGET and JL, even though DL and other competitive institutions. So, today's session person, Dr.P.Manjula Madam Garu, Assistant Professor, Department of Botany, RBVRR Women's College Autonomous. Madam has huge experience of regarding of this plant biodiversity, ecology. So, Madam is explained very clearly and very clarity and very important points you should note down during the class hours. Madam, please share your screen and start your session. Welcome, Madam.
Okay, thank you, sir. Sir, is it visible screen?
Yes, Madam, it is visible. Please you proceed.
Okay. Okay, good evening, dear students. So in last class, we discussed about that is basics of ecology. So before going to this, so what is the difference between ecology and ecosystem? So ecosystem means it is a total, it is an interaction between living organisms and its surroundings. It is called as the ecology, but ecosystem means it is only part of ecology. So here based on the type, so here in ecosystem we are only taking only one particular area is taken into consideration in ecosystem. So ecology means total living organisms with its environment. Okay. So today's topic is functions of ecosystem. So what are the functions means? So generally the main functions are food chain, that is transfer of energy. So it will take place to these food chains and food webs and ecological pyramids, and that is cycling of minerals, etc. So first one is, so today we will discuss about these also important. So food chains and food webs and ecological pyramids. So food chain means it is the flow of energy in an ecosystem, that is flow of energy from one trophic level to the another trophic level. So it is called as the food chain. So flow of energy in an ecosystem in one-way process and the sequence of organisms through which the energy flows. It is called as a food chain. So for example, here the main source of energy is the sunlight, that is solar energy. So from this sun, so that is solar energy, which is taken by these plants and utilize the solar energy and they synthesize the food materials from these producers. So here the transfer of energy to the primary consumers and to the next secondary consumers and tertiary consumers, like that. Here the transfer of energy will take place in a linear process, linear sequence. It is called as the food chain. So the important facts in food chain are, in a food chain, so each organism obtains energy from the one at the level below. That is from the producers to consumers. So the plants are called as the producers because they create their own food through the photosynthesis. So animals, they are generally called as the consumers because they cannot synthesize their own food materials and they dependent on producers for energy. So here the trophic levels in a food chain, generally in a food chain, the base is always occupied by the producers. And on this, so each level it is called as a trophic level. Each one it is called as the trophic level. So here the producers constitute the one trophic level, herbivores constitute the next trophic level, like that. So producers are the main source of energy for all other living organisms. So here the consumers are again classified into primary consumers, secondary consumers and tertiary consumers. So the consumers which mainly dependent on the producers, they are called as the herbivores. So here the organisms which dependent on these herbivores, they are called as the primary carnivores. And again these are eaten by the secondary carnivores in this way. So here the each step it is called as each one it is called as the trophic level. Producers constitute the one trophic level, herbivores or primary consumers constitute the one trophic level, like that. Here each one it is called as the trophic level. That is here the transfer of energy from one trophic level to the another trophic level in a linear sequence. So it is called as a food chain. So here the consumers are again classified into different types. That is primary consumers, secondary consumers, tertiary consumers, and quaternary consumers. So next one is the decomposers. So here food chains again, and they are classified into three types. So first one is the grazing food chain. So here in grazing food chain, that is the consumers utilize the plants as their food and constitute the grazing. So it is called as a grazing food chain. So here in this the consumers mainly dependent on these plants. They are called as a grazing food chain. So this food chain begins from the green plants, and the primary consumers is the herbivores. And most of the ecosystems in nature generally follows this type of food chain. That is from the grass to grasshopper, next birds, next it is followed by other higher organisms. So this is an example for grazing food chain. So next one is the detritus food chain. So another one is detritus food chain. So in detritus food chain, so this type of food chain which starts from the dead organic matter of decaying animals. So here that is these consumers, they mainly dependent on this dead organic matter. So the type of food chain which starts from the dead organic matter, it is called as the detritus food chain. For example, that is decaying organic matter of animals and plant bodies, that is which are taken by these microorganisms and then to the detritus feeding organisms and to the other organisms. So the food chain depends mainly on the influx of organic matter which is produced in another system. So the organisms of the food chain, which includes algae, bacteria, fungi, protozoa. So they mainly these are. So here it starts with the dead organic matter. So in grazing food chain, so here consumers mainly dependent on the plants, whereas here the consumers, they dependent on the dead organic matter. So examples are microorganisms, detritus food chain. So that is bacteria. So and the dead organ, that is fallen leaves. So it is attacked by this bacteria or fungi. So again it will continues. So bacteria to other millipods and other organisms. So significance of food chain. So the knowledge of food chain mainly which helps in understanding the feeding relationships as well as the interaction between the organisms and the ecosystem. And it also helps in understanding the mechanism of energy flow and how the circulation of matter in an ecosystem. And it also helps to understand the movement of toxic substances and the problems which are associated with the biological magnification. So generally, so these mainly depends on the energy, that is transfer of energy from one trophic level to another. But here in biological magnification, here the transfer of that is toxic substances are, for example, any toxic substances during, for example, in the fishes. So if the polluted water, which from the polluted water, they are eaten by, they are consumed by these aquatic animals. So like that, here the bioaccumulation of these toxic compounds will takes, that is increase in the toxic compounds from one level to another will increase. So this is biological magnification. So next one is the food webs. So food web means it is the network of food chains which are interconnected at various trophic levels to form a network-like structure or web-like structure. So it is called as a food web. So here, food web, it is defined as a network of food chains which are interconnected at various trophic levels so as to form a number of feeding connections. So among the different organisms of a biotic community. So for example, here, it is also known as a consumer resource system. So for example, here, so here from the plants to the plants, they are eaten by these mouses or rabbit. So here the producers, they are So, and these producers, they are these consumers, different consumers, they can dependent on these producers and they get energy like that. So only, so in food chain only it is on, we are taking the only one sequence only. But here in food web, so on the one producer, it is dependent on, it is eaten by any other organism, any other consumer. So in an ecosystem. So for example, here the rabbit and also mouse, they are dependent on these producers, grasshopper also. So like that, so on one producer, so many other consumers may be depend. So it is a interconnection between the different trophic levels. So it is eaten by any consumer here. So like that, here many food chains which constitute the food web. So it is a network-like structure. So important facts about it is a node represents an individual species or a group of related species or different stages of a single species. So link means it connects two nodes. So arrow represents a links and always go from prey to the predator here. So from the prey to predator. So for here in one food chain, so here many food chains are there. So here producers to here mouse, next snake, like that. So here again, here it is dependent on, it is eaten, these producers, they are eaten by rabbit, other hogs, like that. So here it is a number of different number of food chains which constitute the food web. So the lowest trophic level, it is the basal species, and the highest trophic level is the top predators. So movement of nutrient is cyclic, but of energy is unidirectional and non-cyclic. So generally, in last previous, I think in 2021 paper, previous paper, so that is energy flow is unidirectional or bidirectional or multidirectional. So this is a question, unidirectional. Okay, so food web. Ecological webs, these food webs simply indicates a feeding relationship. Flow webs, so that is bioenergetic webs, are flow webs which include the information and the strength of the feeding interaction. The interaction means it is the arrows show how one will influence the another. So different food webs, that is soil. So based on the ecosystem, it is the soil food web or aquatic food web in the forest. So food web of grassland and food web in terrestrial and aquatic ecosystem. So this is an example for soil food web. So here in soil, that is on the plant. So it is dependent on nematodes or other organic matter. So like that, here these are the different examples of food webs, aquatic food web. So here food web is interconnection between the different food chains. Okay, here it is an interconnection between the different food chains. So here and this one plant, one tree. So here many consumers are dependent. So here mouse, rabbit, or goat. So grassland food web. So significance of food web. So food webs distinguish the level of producers and consumers by identifying and defining the importance of animal relationships and also the food sources. So it begins with the primary producers such as the plants, insects, or herbivores. So food webs are important tool in understanding the plants are the foundation of all ecosystems and food chains and sustaining the life by providing the nourishment. So by studying these food chains and food webs, so without plants, so no other organism cannot survive. So generally all living organisms which mainly dependent on plants. So without plants, we cannot survive. So food web provides stability to the ecosystem. So next one is the ecological pyramids. So ecological pyramids, these are the graphical representation of the trophical structure of the ecosystem. That is, trophic levels are the feeding positions in the food chain, such as the primary producers, first producers, herbivores, and carnivores, like that. So here, that is a diagrammatic representation of these trophic levels. So it gives the pyramid. So generally ecological pyramids, they are first given by the Elton, Charles Elton. Hence ecological pyramids, they are also known as the Eltonian pyramids. So again here ecological pyramids, they are classified into 3 types. So based on the number number based on the biomass and also the based on the energy. So first one is the pyramid of numbers. So it is the graphical representation of the number of individuals per unit area of various trophic levels. So the generally large number of producers tend to form the base in the pyramid of numbers. So that is, for example, here. So there is the number of producers more when compared to the number of herbivores. And here again, when compared to this number of herbivores, so that is primary carnivores number is less. So generally pyramid of number, it is upright. So it is a graphical pyramid of number. It is a graphical representation of the number of individuals per unit area of various trophic levels, and that is large number of producers which occupy the base and lower number of top carnivores which occupy the top. So pyramid of number, it is always generally it is upright. But here pyramid of number, it is inverted here. In parasitic, so here based on the ecosystem also, here the number of pyramid may vary. So here in parasitic ecosystem, that is pyramid of number is inverted, whereas in forest ecosystem the pyramid of number is pyramid is spindle shaped. So here this is in the parasitic. So here here the base which is occupied by the here we are only counting the number of the trophic level. So in each trophic level, here for example, in this the number of producers are only one, and this one, so many birds, herbivores are dependent. So again these birds, again they are occupied by these parasites. So on the and these birds, so many parasites are there. So again on this many hyper parasites are there. So here the number, so here the base here producers are only one number, but the number is increasing while going to the top. So here inverted in parasitic ecosystem. So whereas the pyramid of number is spindle shaped in forest ecosystem. For example, here and the one tree, so here many herbivores are there, but they are eaten by one top bird, hawk. So like that, here the number first producers are less, but here the herbivores number is more, and again in carnivores number is less. So it becomes spindle shaped. So this is also important question. So generally spindle shaped pyramid of number is seen in grassland or parasitic or forest ecosystem. So here the answer is forest ecosystem. The pyramid of number is spindle shape. So this is also important point. So next one is the pyramid of number, that is advantages and disadvantages. So here the simple method of giving the overview, but the number of here, the number of specific species may be too great to measure the accurately. So here is good for comparing the changes in the ecosystem at different times. So but it does not take into account juveniles or immature forms. So all organisms are included regardless of the size. So while counting this also, some disadvantages and disadvantages are there. So next one is the pyramid of biomass. So here biomass means it is the weight, net weight of the dry earth. Net weight is taken into consideration here, biomass. So it is a graphical representation of the biomass present per unit area at different trophic levels, with producers at the base and carnivores at the top. So biomass is calculated as the mass of each individual into number of individuals at trophic levels. So here generally, that is pyramid of biomass. Here the base and here the graphical, here we are taken into the weight is taken, that is biomass or weight is taken into consideration. So here the weight of these producers are, for example, here 1000 kg. So here the weight of these herbivores are 100 kgs only. So here only one primary carnivore is there and its weight is only 10 kgs. And here the top carnivore, only one, its weight is less. So like that, here it gives, so here the more number of producers are there and the biomass is also more when compared to while going to the top. So the weight is decreasing. So it gives upright. So upright pyramid of biomass is seen in terrestrial ecosystem. So whereas a inverted pyramid, it is seen in the aquatic ecosystem. That is the weight of the producers. So generally in the aquatic ecosystem, the producers are that is algae and phytoplankton. So when compared to these fishes and large fishes or others, so here the weight of these producers are less. So that is only here 4 grams. So here the herbivores are more in number, and also the weight is also more. So here the carnivores are less in number, but the weight is more. So due to which here the biomass is high at the top and low at the bottom base. So due to which here inverted pyramid in aquatic ecosystem, the pyramid of biomass is inverted. So this point is also important. So inverted pyramid is seen in aquatic ecosystem, that is pyramid of biomass. So next one is pyramid of energy or pyramid of productivity. So that is now the pyramid of productivity is a graphical representation of the flow of energy through each trophic level of a food chain over a fixed time period. So the input of solar energy may be indicated by the adding on extra to the base. So here the pyramid of energy. So generally producers have more amount of energy when compared to the other consumers. So generally pyramid of energy is always upright in all types of ecosystem. That is here. That is from this here producers have 10,000 joules. So here more amount of energy is present in producers, and while going to the top, that is from the primary consumers to secondary consumers and tertiary consumers, the amount of energy is decreasing. So it is always upright. The pyramid of energy is always upright in all types of ecosystem. So this is about the food chains, food webs, and ecological pyramids. So in ecological pyramids, the 2 important points are that is inverted pyramid of biomass. Pyramid of energy is inverted in aquatic ecosystem. So another important point is here the spindle shaped pyramid is seen in forest ecosystem of pyramid of number, and inverted pyramid of number it is seen in parasitic ecosystem. So these are the important points. And the ecological pyramids, it is a graphical representation of energy, graphical representation of the trophic levels, and the ecological pyramids, it is given by the Charles Elton. Hence, it is also known as the ecological pyramids. They are also known as the Eltonian pyramids.
Madam, first page, please.
Okay.
Starting, madam. Next page.
Fishes.
Types of food chains. Types of food chains. Madam, stop me.
Types of these
Paiki.
types of food chains.
Start. Next page. Definition, grazing.
So grazing food chain.
Definition, madam.
Okay, grazing food chain means here the food chain which starts with the here the producers are the plants. Okay, that is the consumers utilize the plants as the food, their food. That is here the consumers, they mainly dependent on the plants only in grazing food chain.
Okay, madam. Okay.
So if the producers are here in another food chain, that is in detritus, it starts with that is the consumers, they dependent on the dead organic matter. So it is called as the detritus food chain.
Yes.
So along with this, so another food chain is also there, that is parasitic food chain. So here in parasitic food chain, that it starts with the green plants only, the base that is producers of the green plants, but again, while going to the other trophic levels, so herbivores and these herbivores, parasites are and these herbivores, the parasites are dependent on these herbivores. So another type is there, that is the parasitic food chain. So three types here, only two types are given, but three types. So here based on the producers. Okay, so here the consumers mainly depending on the plants. So it is called as a grazing. So in detritus, so consumers mainly dependent for the energy, they depending on the dead organic matter. So it is called as a detritus. So another one is the parasitic food chain. In parasitic food chain, that is the base, the producers are plants only. So herbivores dependent on these plants, but on the herbivores many parasites are present. So it comes under, so again on the parasites, hyperparasites. So like that, here another food chain, that is a parasitic food chain. Okay. So
Okay, madam. Thank you, madam.
okay. So some of the disturbances in the ecosystem, that is bioaccumulation. So when the plants or animals take up a chemical from the environment and do not excrete it, so the chemical builds up in the organism over time to a potentially lethal level. So what happens here? So if any organisms or living organisms, that is plants or animals, when take the chemicals, that is toxic substances, they cannot be excreted out. So here this toxic content will be increasing from one trophic level to another. So it is called as a bioaccumulation. So another one is a biomagnification. So which refers to the sequence of process that result in higher concentration of the chemical in an organism at higher levels in the food chain. So here also that concentration of the chemical may not affect the lower levels of the food chain, but the top level take in so much that it can cause the disease or death. So these are the some of the disturbances in the ecosystem. So while transferring the energy, so sometimes these chemicals also transferred from one trophic level to another trophic level. So it causes the harmful to the higher organisms. So these are the bioaccumulation and biomagnification. So next one is the extinction of the species. So due to the decrease in the population of various species, the balance of, so due to hunting, more over exploitation, or due to cutting of trees, so what happens? So this extinction of the species will occur. So due to decrease in the population of various species and the balance of various trophic levels is disturbed as a result of some level. So what happens if the plants are not there? What happens? The grasshoppers population increases or decreases if the plants are not there?
Once repeat, madam.
If the plants are not there, so grasshoppers population increases or decreases?
Increases.
Increase or decrease?
Decreases.
Decreases, because here because the grasshoppers depends on the plants.
Depends
The
on the plants.
the source of energy, that is plants are not there, so grasshopper population decreases. So due to which, so this is the extinction of the species. Due to decrease in the populations of various species, the balance of various trophic levels also disturbed. As a result, so some levels may have more accumulation of the species, and while others have the very less population. So these are the some of the disturbances in the ecosystem. So this is about the food chain, food web, and ecological pyramids. So these 2 points are very, very important. Ecological pyramids law. So that is spindle shaped and inverted pyramid. Okay.
Biomass also, madam.
Biomass. So I will again explain this bioaccumulation, biomagnification in detail. So I will stop here. So, sir,
Okay. Madam, thank you. Madam, thank you very much. So wonderful presentation. So by today, Madam has clearly explained about the food chain and food web and biological magnification. Madam has clearly explained. So even though the pyramid, okay, ecological pyramids. So remaining topic we'll discuss tomorrow. Madam, tomorrow definitely we have the class. Please you spare your valuable time. Thank you very much for your wonderful presentation. My dear friends, tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock as usual, we have the same sessions. Okay. Thank you.
Okay,
Madam,
sir.
thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you, sir.
Right.
Thank you.
Record ఆపేయండి. Record ఆపేయండి.